Yeah.
Perfect. Come back, Jack. Beep, 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 beep. Whoa, backup beeper's working. Okay, Jack. And we're off. So yeah, as I say, my name is Ruth and this is Jack. But if you happen to get us mixed up. Yeah, so what? How long have you been in Lunenburg?
It's just their first day here.
Okay, and how long are you staying?
I stay in Halifax for like 5 years. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
So for this town, how many of the population?
We have about 2,300 people now.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be year round. Like in the summertime, we have a lot more because you've got all kinds of tourists and people coming to stay for whatnot.
So do you see a lot of Chinese tourists
Some,
here?
quite a few. And many like you, they've been studying in Halifax and maybe their families have come to visit them and they'll come down to Lunenburg for a day. Or something like that. Oh, over here's our Fisherman's Memorial. So Lunenburg's been a fishing town since the mid-1800s. And this is in honor of over 600 fishermen and sailors lost from here over the years. And over 100 vessels listed as well. Okay, Jack. Because fishing was what built Lunenburg. Fishing was what made us prosperous, but it's also very dangerous. And so you had storms and you had fishing accidents and a lot of men died. Yeah.
So right now fishing is also the main industry of this town, or?
Well, it certainly used to be, but it's not quite as big as it used to be because codfish were the big fish here. That was what built the town. That was what built the whole area. But cod fishing collapsed during the 80s because the populations just collapsed. And so it's not like it used to be. We still have some. We still have halibut and scallops and lobster and things like that, but not like it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of houses with colorful paintings. So,
oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, we like to have a lot of fun with our colors here. Actually, back in the day, the fishermen would paint their houses the same colors as the boats.
Okay.
See, they'd use the extra boat paint to paint the home. Which was a good idea because when the fishermen came home, a bit plastered, they could find the right one. Did you notice anything about the street we just got onto?
No, it's...
Well, this is the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Rum Row in all its glory.
Okay.
Okay, Jack, and it's right across from the Smuggler's Cove Inn too. Are you familiar with prohibition?
No.
It's when the government passes laws that you cannot buy or sell alcoholic drinks.
Okay.
And there was prohibition in the States, the United States, during the 1920s and 30s. But here in Lunenburg, we're a fishing town. And of course, fishermen just couldn't watch their neighbors suffering, so we had to smuggle the rum up and down the coast.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
So we noted that there are a lot of retailers here and also some galleries.
Yes.
So, for this town, are there a lot of designers and artists?
Lunenburg is a very historic place, as you know, and it's kind of pretty. And so there are a lot of artists that like to live here. And so we have some artist galleries. We have a certain number of musicians and things like that. See on the post there? An artist in town a few years ago made about 30 of those and they're hung up all over Lunenburg. So yes, there are quite a few. Yeah. And have you noticed how many buildings on the waterfront are red?
Okay.
Do you know why?
I don't know.
Well, they say it's because they didn't have radar and they thought that red would show up well in the fog for the ships coming in.
Okay.
But I think it was because it was the cheapest color of paint around.
Okay.
Look at the view. This house here was built in 1827.
Okay.
We call it the his and her house.
Okay. His and her house. Good.
Yeah.
So there are a residence inside right now.
Yeah. Most of these houses are people's homes.
Okay.
Yeah. And down there beyond the food land, that's the shipyard.
Okay.
Oh, built over 300 vessels down there over the years.
Okay.
So the Blue Nose, she was built there, and the Blue Nose too.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie or heard of the movie Mutiny on the Bounty?
Not yet.
Have you heard of Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Well, the Black Pearl in Pirates of the Caribbean, the ship, was the same ship as the Bounty in the movie Mutiny on the Bounty, and she was built down here.
哦，他说那个《加勒比海盗》里面的黑珍珠船是跟它同类型的船是在这里建造的。
哦，在这个地方建造，
对，
就现在这个地方造船业就是还是有保留，是吧
So right now they're still have the like.
They're still building. Oh shoot! Highlight of the tour, folks.
马臭臭的。
Oh, Jack, I wasn't paying attention.
还有造船业的这个。
刚才马拉了臭臭，他要清理一下。哦，原来那个桶是用来做这个的，他还以为那个桶是用来给他喂气。
Yeah, we just don't know like the purpose of the.
Of the bucket?
Yeah.
Yes.
它的皮非常好，倒是方便臭臭的分析。为什么？
So
为了好看吧。我是觉得它拉臭臭的时候就容易弄到它的那个尾巴上。没有水。马尾巴甩来甩去的嘛。是啊。
Souvenir?
So why the shape of the tail?
Oh, why have I got it braided?
Yeah.
Well, because Jack's tail is very short.
Okay.
And if I didn't have it braided, he wouldn't lift it high enough and it would get all dirty with that.
Okay. So it's better for the.
It keeps it clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
就是您刚才说的，它那个尾巴
Okay, Jack.
是比较短，为了保持清洁的话，就把它编起来。
我说的这个原因。
You know, the ships that were built down there, they took a lot of ironwork and still do. And that ironwork used to be done over here.
Okay.
This used to be Thomas Walter's blacksmith shop. It ran from 1876 till about 10 years ago, and there were 3 generations of Walters to be blacksmith in there.
Okay.
And actually, after that, my father, he's the blacksmith still, but he moved the blacksmith shop over to my home about 10 years ago, like I say.
So right now, for the color of the houses, we heard that they need to approve by the town.
I don't believe so. I think that you can paint whatever color you want.
Okay.
There are some restrictions. So, for instance, vinyl siding isn't allowed anymore.
Okay.
This stuff's here because it's grandfathered in, so you can keep it if you had it since 1995, because that's when Lunenburg became a UNESCO site. And do you all know what UNESCO is?
No.
It's the World Heritage Organization.
Oh, yeah. I heard that.
Yeah. This was built in 1884 for Captain Simeon Hebb.
Okay.
But we think his brother liked the house so much, he had to have one just like it.
刚才路过那个房子是1884年建造的。
1884年，这里大部分都是17世纪、18世纪。
Okay, so
这边现在大家主要就是以什么为生渔业嘛？
okay, so right now, people live in this town. How do they make money or?
Well, it's like any other town, there's a few different things. I mean, some people are carpenters and some people are painters and some people are artists and some people work in the tourist industry. Tourism would be the big thing in Lunenburg now. But that's only in the summer. And so, for instance, the guy who runs this business, well, he does this in the summer and then in the winter he works in the woods.
Okay.
But there's also the fish plant, so they process fish down there. And there's HB Studios, which makes video games, and there's Composites, which makes airplane parts, and so there's a few businesses like that. And then a lot of people will commute to Bridgewater and work in Michelin, or even a few people will commute to Halifax and work.
Okay.
So it depends on who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
所以现在夏季的话，最主要的就是旅游业，然后他们也会有一些像这种刷漆的行业，因为这边会经常喷顶嘛，或者是有一些建造业，所以渐渐的渔业并不再是最主要的了。
And of course, there are a few fishermen left too.
Okay.
See, have you noticed all the dormers in Lunenburg? The dormer windows, so the bit of roof that comes out with the windows in the front?
Okay.
There are so many of those in Lunenburg. We call them the Lunenburg bump.
Okay.
But the ones on the yellow house and the blue house up there face the water.
Okay.
And when they face the water, we call them the widow's watch, because
Okay.
wives would stand there and they'd look for their husband's ships to come in from sea.
Okay.
And of course, the ones who had to stand the longest were the ones whose men didn't come. Okay, Jack.
他说就是那个窗户上面那些窗户檐，然后是有特定的名字的，就是他刚才提到的。然后这些朝海的方向的窗户，就是那些亲人在等待着这些出海的人回来。
就一开始的时候，
对
这种寓意是这样，就像它这个窗帘。
Do you like all the curvy brackets and around the windows and corner boards and whatnot?
Okay.
We call that gingerbread.
Gingerbread. Okay.
Yeah. And it used to be a sign of wealth.
Okay.
Because all of those had to be hand carved, and that was a lot of extra time and effort to have put in your home.
Okay. 就是那些就是有曲线剪裁的，一般象征着就是这个家里比较有财富，因为它是需要花很长的时间才能做出来这样子。
这个跟中国很像，就是那个木雕房子雕花越复杂的，代表投入的成本越高。
We just talk about in China maybe similar situation, like more decoration, maybe proof that the family are more well.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and there's some beautiful stained glass above this door here too.
So like almost like most of the houses, which year are they built? Like in 19.
Most of the houses would probably be 1800s. We have some 1900s and we have a few 1700s as well.
Okay.
Lunenburg was founded 1753, so
Okay.
whoa, anything from there onwards. Yeah.
它说这个镇是1763年建造，所以大部分的房子是1800年之后建起来的。
This was 1888.
1880.
The Boscawen Inn, and actually that was built as a wedding present to a couple from the bride's parents.
Okay. 它是用于那个结婚婚礼
这一
建造，对
个房子吗
，wedding。
我下去拍2张照
Is
片。
it possible she take some pictures?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up there on that piece of granite is our Unesco plaque. And like I say, Lunenburg's been a UNESCO site since 1995. So all of Old Town Lunenburg is part of that. Right from the harbor back to there,
Okay.
down to the shipyard and back to the academy. And
Okay.
yeah, we are very, very honored to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think this is why like many people come to Lunenburg.
one of the reasons for sure. Yeah, it's helped us a lot.
它那个联合国遗产，就是世界小镇的那个点。
Yeah. Have you been to other UNESCO sites?
Not really. But,
Yeah.
But each year, like if we have new students, we will come to Tigers Cove and also
Yeah.
Lunenburg.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what can I say? We are beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's a nice town. Yeah.
So, will you have some recommendation for the restaurant of the town later?
Oh gosh. Are you looking for anything in particular?
Yeah, maybe more local.
In other words, seafood.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's about 6 or 7 different restaurants all along the waterfront, and all of them have good seafood.
Okay.
So it's kind of close your eyes and point, because if they weren't okay, they wouldn't be there because it's so competitive. So it's all personal taste.
Okay, so which one is your favorite?
Well, I actually haven't eaten in very many of them.
Oh.
See, I'm a local, but I'm also one of 10 kids, and we didn't go out to eat because it would cost too much. Yeah. So I've only been in 1 or 2 of them, so I can't really give a personal opinion. So,
你可以问了一下，养这一匹马的话，
yeah.
要怎么打理啊？大概每个月花费多少？这边人可不可以养？
So for the local people, it's easy to have the horse at their home, and also how about the cost of
Well,
him?
a horse, it depends on who you are. Okay, Jack. At my home, we have a couple of horses, but that's because my home is a farm, and I'm 4th generation on the farm, and you know, a lot of people don't have horses, but this business obviously does. I'm not sure exactly. It depends on your situation exactly how much it's going to cost. Whether you buy your hay or make your own hay, like that you feed them all winter, or how much grain you give them, or how nice of a barn you have. There's so many variables that I can't really give a number.
That's fine.
Do you like up on top of the greenhouse? We call that the widow's walk, because the wives would stand and walk around while they looked for their men's ships.
OK
And because if we didn't call that, it would be the playpen.
OK 说刚才房子上那些小的，就是也是妻子，就会等待丈夫回来。
Benjamin Knock here was the cobbler, shoemaker. He made shoes from 1893 right up until the 40s.
OK
And he had to commute all the way next door. Yeah. We were talking about all that gingerbread, the fancy work being a sign of wealth, but the other thing that was a sign of wealth was stained glass. And there will be some up above the veranda in this house. But the reason that was a sign of wealth is because they didn't make it this side of the Atlantic.
OK
They only in Europe, and so they would ship it over from England,
OK
and they would bring it over inside barrels of molasses,
OK
because the molasses was so thick that the glass wouldn't break.
OK。
Yeah.
那些玻璃也是一种财富的象征，因为他们在本地是不制造的，然后会从欧洲那边运过来。
本地不制造，就是每一家都有用玻璃。
So you mean like the stainless glass, like the name of the glass?
Oh, no, Jack. Stained glass was the sign of wealth because they would bring it from England. They would bring the glass inside barrels of molasses, because molasses is this thick, dark, sweet syrup, and because it was inside the molasses, it wouldn't break on the way over.
OK
Yeah, this is Jack's coffee break.
OK。然后对，就那个玻璃是因为它们里面有些特殊制造的材料，让
Hey,
它
Jack.
不会碎，所以只有那种是从英国运过来的玻璃。
No. Do you guys want a shower? Jack, excuse me. Whoops, there's a kink in the hose.